I need to be on my A game to get into Cal Arts. Through your medium of choice, show us your happiest moment. No pressure, though.
Paige! Come on, no edibles before school. We've talked about this.
That would be my best friend, Dylan. He's kind of like my platonic soulmate.
You think that your crush on Gabriella Campos is Cal Arts worthy?
This semester, I'm gonna make my move.
Oh, yeah? Name one time that you made a move.
Is she in slow motion again?
Yeah.
Music playing in the background?
Mm-hmm.
You are a lost cause. It's time for you to move on.
There are plenty of other queer options for you to date.
Like who? What about Chantel? Hell no. She's tried to put a love spell on me at least 6 times.
Wait, duh, what about AJ?
Why would I ever do that? That's Gabby's sister.
Hey, what about Amy?
Gateway gay. She's fingered every girl in the school.
So what? I'm sure she's washed her hands.
Hey. Are you coming out today? I've been out for a really long time. I'm extremely gay. I was actually talking about track tryouts. Right. Maybe I'll see you later.
Bye,
so
Gabby.
long.
Really? You? Track tryouts?
Listen up! AJ, you gonna train Paige?
Isn't that literally your job as coach?
My job as coach is to motivate through fear.
So track. Why? I thought you were more interested in art. Since you asked.
None of it feels right to me.
Don't be afraid to draw something a little more vulnerable. Now I have to become an athlete, make the perfect thing for Cal Arts, and pick the right girl.
I haven't kissed anyone. I don't know how to kiss.
Yeah, you're probably a terrible kisser.
You need to teach me.
No. What? Ew.
No means no, Paige. Come on. Do me a favor and try to get old Paige here to loosen up a little bit.
Is it root vegetable season? Because it's turn up time.
I'm learning that when it comes to art, you can't force it. It's a lot like love.
You took the liberty of washing your sex toy. By the way, this is very small. It could totally get lost up there.
Well, that's an eraser, so that's not going to go up there.
Anything's possible.
Thank you very much for taking the time to sit down with me today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Of course. So we are going to be talking about Crush, the new movie that comes out on Hulu this Friday. And I'll just jump right in. So art plays a big role in the film. And there are also discussions about free speech, especially when it comes to high school, which is where this movie is primarily set. So how did you use this particular story to communicate those themes?
When you look at the film as a whole, you'll see that free speech, it's what attracts people, brings people together. It's what unites the student body around King Pun. It's what attracts Dylan to Stacy, the coach to Angie, and ultimately Paige to her true love. And, beyond and connected to this idea of free speech are themes about self-expression and finding your voice, right? And self-expression is linked to everything Paige is really afraid of at the beginning of this film. Afraid of being rejected, letting go of old ideas, afraid to experience something new. But it's really only through new experiences that Paige can access new feelings. And those feelings transform her artwork and give her a real point of view. Let her find that free speech that she can put out into the world. And I think that's something really we relate to as artists. We tend to start living inside our own minds. Feels really safe to kind of control the narrative, but until we, live outside those lines, we can't access this full range of emotion, messy, complicated as it might get. And that full range of feeling is what we channel into art. And I think, what we see in the evolution of Paige as it pertains to art and love is that idea of free speech. And from like a meta level, this movie is really a celebration of free speech too. It's amazing to be making a queer coming of age rom-com, now more than ever.
Mm-hmm. That segues perfectly into my next question. I really hope Crush receives the attention it deserves for its major representation in the LGBTQIA community. So why was this a story you wanted to tell, and what does it really mean to you?
I mean, this movie, from the moment I read the script, has such a special place in my heart. I didn't come out until after high school, a little bit later in life. And as a queer kid in the closet, this is the movie I desperately needed growing up. Normalizing queer culture, telling real human stories is something I want to see more of. And it's what I responded to in the script. But But yeah, I mean, little Sammy needed this movie, and I'm just glad we get to make it now.
Yeah. And so Crush isn't necessarily a story about coming out, in terms of our main character, Paige. That's covered in the first couple minutes of the film. But it is still very much about figuring out one's identity in your formative years in high school. So were there any elements that you drew from your own life for this story, even though you came out after high school?
I did. I came out later. I mean, there were certain things that were just, I remember telling the writers after reading this, that I felt like they somehow, snuck into my mom's garage and pulled out all my high school journals, because so much of it was like, I was varsity captain of my basketball team. It wasn't track, but like we went away, we had weekend meets where we would travel with the team. I was an artist in high school as well, and wanted to apply to CalArts among a few other schools. And I was secretly pining for a girl who I was very good friends with. I mean, if I'm being honest, there were multiple. So that all really just felt so real, now and then. And then beyond that, I think, beyond the high school piece of it, I really related to this idea of being a young artist, right? Struggling to find their voice. And I relate to the idea of living inside your own head, keeping a distance to kind of control the narrative so you can't get hurt. It's hard to be vulnerable because it's terrifying to think you might fail. But as long as you're learning, right, you're not failing. And you can only learn when you open yourself up and start to live unapologetically. So there's a little bit of like coming out. When I did come out, my directing got better, my writing got better. It was sort of the filter I needed to take off to live authentically. And as much as this isn't about coming out specifically, I think it still is a part of the fabric of the story.
Absolutely. And in terms of the characters, how much did the actors develop their characters, and how much was a collaborative effort between you and the writers and basically everyone involved?
I mean, it's such a team effort. The writers, the script was so good, and the characters were so thought out and so exciting and unlike anything I've seen. So they just set this whole thing up for success. I always encourage my actors to explore what's beyond the page. And I want to really empower them with a sense of freedom on set to let the character breathe and live. And we rehearse and we talk at length about, who these people are. And, with Paige and Dylan, right? They grew up together. So what did their childhood look like? Just details like that, with Tyler and Tila, who play Dylan and Stacy. It's like, we talked a lot about their relationship and if they stay together. It's just really going beyond, what's on every page. I think like that's all part of it. The cast is incredibly talented, and it was really a joy to watch them bring the words to life and then add their own, details to really flesh out the nuances of the character.
Mm-hmm. And in the film in general, I was fascinated by the fact that Crush is very R-rated when other coming-of-age rom-coms might go like a PG-13 route. So were the more mature elements built in from the beginning, or did they develop during pre-production?
Both. I think it was a movie that didn't want to shy away from sex and some of those more R-rated moments, but it was also something that, we are encouraged to lean into. We wanted this to feel really authentic, and that meant leaning into certain things like that.
Yeah, I did appreciate that. As a straight white man, I don't feel qualified to comment on the representation in this film, but as someone who went through high school not too long ago, I did appreciate how real it felt.
That's so great to hear.
Yeah. And so finally, what are some of your favorite rom-coms, and how did they influence Crush?
Oh man, there's so many. I think I'll probably start listing things that they're not all rom-coms even. The coming of age genre has always been a really big source of inspiration for me. It's funny, you'll see a ton of Easter eggs in the movie. Like all of the track teams are named after famous directors of high school coming of age movies, Hughes High and Peckerling High. But back to the question. I think I grew up on John Hughes, Linklater, Amy Heckerling. I loved 10 Things I Hate About You, Juno, My Girl. I think, it's funny, the biggest influences as a director are Celine Sciamma, Paul Thomas Anderson, and Edgar Wright for me. I think those three really dictate the way I approach character, storytelling, and camera.
I'll have to go back and watch it again, see if I can catch some of the finer details.
There's a ton in there. It's for
Yeah. I know, especially especially with the art. I know, there's a lot of hidden stuff there, and this is off script a little bit, but going right back to our first question, was there any art that was produced for the movie that we didn't get to see on screen?
That's a great question. There's so much. We hired queer artists for King Pun and for Paige respectively. There's a ton of art that was generated by an artist. Chloe and Pink is the Instagram handle. It's in Paige's bedroom. It's chock full of it, but you don't get to see all of it. It's in there, but there's a ton of really, really beautiful stuff. Most of it we got, but there's some secret little gems in there if you look closely.
Yeah. So Sammi, thank you very much for joining me. Fresh is on Hulu on April 29th, and you all should watch it. Yes, thank you all out there for watching, and go watch this movie.
Awesome. Thanks again.